conventional response may not be either appropriate or effective? Do we need to have a broader sense of strategy and tactics to deal with little green men and the closure of, let's make it even more dramatic, the Bering Strait?
Absolutely. And I think that is the basis for our recommendations on the operational concepts. How do we really want to go after that? What is the best way to pull the levers of power in order to offset what is happening in these particular regions? But I think it's important, too, that, being there is important to us. When I look at, for example, the balance of China and the U.S. in East Asia, on surface ships, they are about 4 or 5 to 1 of what we currently have there. Would we flow more? Yes, we likely would. 26, 27 submarines operate in that area. And oh, by the way, one of the things that doesn't show up on the nice charts are about 119 other ships that can shoot at you. So, I think we have to think in terms of that. And, China uses in those two areas, East China Sea, South China Sea, their Coast Guard, which is really, when you look at some of their ships, they're about as big as our cruisers. So, this is where we believe the operational concepts are key, that it is not just the hardware. There's going to be cyber, there's going to be economic, there's going to be diplomatic. So that's what we're driving at when we talk about what are the concepts that we want to come at these problems with.
I appreciate that. And just to close out, I think one of the most important things you said today was we're in danger of a kind of slow motion change of strategic balance where we don't have a response, and the next thing we know, there are islands in the South China Sea, the strait at the north of the Black Sea is closed, and we don't have a response. It's the frog in the water as it approaches boiling. I appreciate your testimony and your work. Very, very important for the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator King. Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen, for being on the commission and your past service to the country. I was going through the summary here and was looking first at page 19, then page 22. When you start looking at you note two key risks. One is whether or not the whole of DOD can actually get its act together and execute, which is a very, I think, important thing to point out. You also note in several instances from the beginning of the report to the end of the report, the funding risk. And you have basically two tiers to it. You say that the NDS is at risk of being fully realized or implemented based on what you think are historical downward trends in funding. So even if we don't let sequestration use the blunt force reductions, then you see a very real risk for funding. Has there ever been